Welcome to the Wingman Show. We are floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who watches my six is Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother Paul? How you doing today?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Drew. Good to see you. I'm doing fine today. Woke up on the right side of the bed. I'm ready to get going.
Good, good. Great quote today. You don't have to understand things for them to be true. Let me say that again. You don't have to understand things for them to be true. Madeline L. Ingalls said that. I think that that's an incredible statement. I have good news for you. I just want to make a little news flash for you, Dr. Paul. World crime rate is down. Well, in murder rates, especially New York, 13%, LA, 20%, Atlanta, 30%. And overall, the world crime rate is going down. That's the good news for the Wingman Show. What do you think about that, Doc?
Well, that's good. That's good. I've been accused of being a little bit morose and focusing on the negative by somebody whose name I won't mention.
It's my name.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, it's not all chaos and depression and depravity, although there's a fair amount of that. But I wonder, statistics, you can make the numbers look any way you want to look. That's not
good.
hard.
I'm making them look like good news is here. How
Okay.
about that?
That makes me feel good.
Good.
I'll
I'm
go
glad
with that.
about that. Well, let's start this off real quick. If you can't beat them, join them. You've heard that many a times. If you can't beat them, join them. Well, I'm going to say that about technology now. Anybody who can hear my voice, if you're bitching about technology, stop bitching and start learning. First of all, I love Apple, and I'm giving my free ad to Apple. Apple makes technology much easier. And trust me, if you just try, if you take some classes on YouTube, you can learn technology. The reason I'm saying this is you don't have a choice. The world is becoming technical. You can't fly anymore without knowing technology. Most of your things are coming on electronic devices, tickets, movie passes, all of this. You have to join this revolution called technology. It's just like I get pissed when somebody moves to another country that has a different language and they don't want to learn the language. That's ridiculous. You're putting yourself down by not learning a new language in a new country. So I think that that's the way to go there, Dr. Paul. What do you think?
Well, you're right. You really have no choice. And this discussion, it's aimed at older people over a certain age. Younger people don't know anything different. So this is true. This is not to you. You don't know what a rotary dial phone is, for example, or a party line phone is, which is another discussion. That going back to the late.
I damn near don't remember party lines.
Yeah, I mean, well.
Tell them what it is, Paul, because that's really what is a party line?
A party line is you pick up a phone with a cord, and you might hear people talking. You could have more than one discussion going on, and say, "Hey, are you guys finished?" Yeah, we're finished, and they finished. Then you can call. You could simultaneously do that. I remember that. That's really, really weird. I mean, the first car my family had didn't have seatbelts. One-time cars didn't have seatbelts. Shoulder straps didn't come into the 70s. And that was like a shoulder strap. And that didn't become standard really until the 80s. So
how about helmets on bicycles when we were kids?
Say that again?
How about wearing helmets when you rode bicycles? When we were children, that was unheard of.
I saw helmets in football only. That's the only time I ever saw a helmet. No, everything was, you had good hand-eye coordination. You had no choice. Maybe it's Darwin's theory. But yeah, technology changes. You got to have a cell phone to do a lot of things. There's a couple of establishments I've eaten at that they just take credit cards. They take no cash,
and they don't have menus anymore.
Yeah, everything.
You have to have a QR code, and your menu will come up on your phone.
That's right. What if you don't have a phone? Well, find someone that's got a phone. Yes. So you're being forced into this, whether you like it or not, if you think it's a conspiracy or not. And you're right about the Apple. Apple does make things very easy. The first Apple computer I had a manual that was like 2 pages versus the other ones that were like 2,000 pages.
volumes.
Volumes, and nobody ever understood it. So yeah,
Well,
get with
everybody,
it.
welcome to the Wingman Show out there, and check out our pictures. Anybody who's watching us on YouTube, do us a favor and subscribe, please. That makes us look better, and we'll get more shows out there. But check out what I have behind me. I have a Neptune balloon. This is a visualization of things that are going to start flying in the air, and these are like liveaboard balloons. I think Dr. Paul has a UFO.
Yeah, I see it. There's a balloon and a UFO to one side of me. I guess the balloon would be on the right side, the UFO on the left. I was looking at it. You know, at one time, not long ago, they shot down a couple of Chinese spy balloons with all kinds of equipment on them. The one behind me looks like it's got a solar panel, so it can power equipment, which makes a lot of sense. UFOs. You ever hear of Area 51? Supposed to be
Yes, I have.
Las Vegas, and UFOs and stealth aircraft and all kinds of stuff is supposed to be there. Not far outside of Las Vegas.
As a matter of fact, if you go there, they have gift shops with all these aliens. It's an amazing place to visit, I guess.
Yeah.
I believe in UFOs myself. I think that there are bigger things out there and smarter things out there than just us. I don't take the human beings as being the smartest and the oldest living things in the universe.
I think so too. You know, if you ever been down Roswell, New Mexico, Roswell is near a place I was going to a long time ago, and it's supposedly a UFOs crashed there like in 1947, and there's supposed to be a big conspiracy and a cover up. But if you drive through Roswell, which is really a small town, it's they call it UFO City, and there's UFO shops. You can get T-shirts, and there are aliens out there that are selling you like coffee and things like that. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's a very good tourist attraction, I have to admit.
Yeah. A question I get, you know, have you ever seen a UFO when you were flying an airplane?
I haven't seen a UFO. I've seen things I couldn't explain, but I can't sit here and tell you I've seen a UFO. When we were out in the Mediterranean, when I was on the Nimitz, sometimes I did see things that were unusual, but I cannot sit here and tell you I've seen a UFO. What about you, Dr. Paul, when you were flying?
When we were flying, no, I looked, I didn't. I was flying with some guys. A couple of the guys, they said they saw something. I didn't see it. But the strangest thing was one night, I thought I saw a UFO in the Caribbean. And it wasn't. It was actually, I think it was Venus rising. But it was just so clear, and it looked like it was like right next to me, and I couldn't get close to it. I kept maneuvering. I couldn't get close to it. Then it's like, okay, that's a star.
Little Drew just showed me a video that he took that he thought was a UFO, and it was a speed of light flashing by on this video, and he says that he thinks it's a UFO. So if the Dr. Brown says it's a UFO, I just got to go with him. You know, our wingman this week is a woman from Milwaukee. And I don't know about you, but when I flew for FedEx and flew to Milwaukee, they had the best German food in the country. And they had sausage shops, sausage factories, actually. So I always used to go there and get fresh sausage and eat German food in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I never had a layover in Milwaukee. It was always a through flight going somewhere else, going to Appleton, Wisconsin. Never laid over, never left the airport. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump from Chicago. So I know Chicago.
Sure is. And look, Apple Podcasts, Instagram. Please, guys, write us a review. Join us on Instagram. And once again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. That would be a great thing. We also have a website, wingmanshow.com. Wingmanshow.com that has a frequent flow line. And our frequent flow line is for people to ask us questions. And we do have a question from the audience today also. But you can write us anything you want. You can ask us anything you want. Sometimes we'll answer, sometimes we won't.
All right.
But anyway, our frequent flow line, wingmanshow.com. All right, Dr. Paul, if you're sick of people, I have the greatest solution for you. Ireland just came up and said they have 30 very remote islands that they are willing to give you up to $94,000 to go live on one of those. They'll give you the money to repair a house there or build a house there. You have to live there. There's only like 3,000 people. They've dwindled down to 3,000 people amongst 30 islands. But if you want to be by yourself, we got a place for you. Ireland, 94 grand they'll give you.
Yeah, it's Americans can do it too. Thing is, though, you have to have a reason to be there. I guess you have to prove that you purchased the place, and you don't have to necessarily live there. You can actually rent it out. I guess you have to take ownership and have some people in the place. Apparently, it's very popular. Those islands are very popular for tourists. They get like 300,000 tourists a year, and I guess they don't want everything to fall into disrepair, so they'll pay you to live out there. How long do you have to be out there? It's like 2 years or something?
You have to be out there, I think, 2 years, and you have to fix up the place or build the place. You do have to be a resident there, or like Dr. Paul said, you can rent out your place, but it has to be, somebody has to live there in order for you to get the money. How about this, Dr. Paul? Both of us were in the military. The Air Force and Army and Navy are actually having problems recruiting. They're not getting the numbers they want. Believe it or not, the Marine Corps is up to par. But you know what the military is now doing? They're starting to recruit legal migrants. Once again, legal migrants. That's people from other countries who have come here who are not citizens yet. But if you do get in, how about this? They give you a fast track to citizenship. So all these legal migrants that are coming from other countries, you know, we are having a hard time finding natural born Americans who qualify. You know, the military said, listen to this, Dr. Paul, only 20% of applicants are physically, mentally qualified to actually be in the military. Only 20% of the people who come in. So they're having a hard time trying to recruit. But these people from Nepal, people from Africa, people from Russia, all over the country, Europe, everywhere, they're starting to join the U.S. military. And it's a fast track to citizenship. What do you think about migrants joining our U.S. military?
Yeah, I guess that's happened for a while. Under this new program, I think you can get your citizenship in as little as like 6 or 7 weeks after finishing basic training. Again, that's a pretty fast track. At least that's the case for the Air Force, I know. You know, 7 weeks as opposed to maybe 7 years or longer. But there's a desperate need. I remember hearing a couple of generals talk about the state of basically American youth, and that the physical and mental fitness is so low amongst a certain swath of the population that it's actually a national security concern. I guess in terms of mobilization, if you needed people, basically if everyone's too fat or too slow mentally and physically to do anything. Again, I say, you know, get up and move. A lot of young people are not moving. A lot of us are not moving. They're sitting around and just stewing in entertainment and nonsense. So other folks who are hungry or more aggressive are taking advantage of some of the opportunities that are being presented. Yes,
and they all don't look like us anymore. No. It's going to be a world. This is going to be the world is coming together, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And in hundreds of years, it's going to be one place probably. So. Yeah. You're going to have to get used to different looking people. And that's the problem with some of us. You know, you and I were very, very lucky by growing up in New York City because there was a diverse population there. They had all colors, all religions, all languages, and we grew up with that. Some people grow up and they only see one thing their entire life. So anything new, they kind of take a step back and don't appreciate, don't like, just because they don't understand. Matter of fact, didn't we say that in the beginning? Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not true.
Right. And the people sometimes know very little about this country. America physically is a very large country. From sea to shining sea. Yeah. It's a very large country. You mentioned New York City. New York City is just a fraction of New York State. So you can actually leave, well, at least years ago, you could leave the city, drive for an hour or two, and you're in another country. You might as well you could be in Michigan or Mississippi. You're 2 hours outside of Queens. And I've seen that. So you can have that even in the midst near large metropolitan area. So if you can, it's a really a gift to be able to get out and travel and see something different. To me, the Northeast is different than the Southeast, which is different than the Southwest. It's a little bit different than the Northwest. Yet there is always a combination of things. When we talk about going to Hawaii and Alaska, which are two states in the United States, they're different from everything, but similar in many ways.
Well, they said we have how many 51 different dialects of English in America, different types of, from the North, from the South, from the East, from the West. Everybody talks a little bit different. In Europe, they're not dialects, they're different languages. Yeah. Yet they're that close as we are to states. And I believe that's what you were saying, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, you're close.
In this big world, how about the fastest growing jobs in the next 5 years? Because technology is changing. Matter of fact, they're going to create 69 million more jobs in the next 5 years. The problem is we're going to lose 83 million jobs because of AI and technology. So Dr. Paul and I are going to give you the top 10 jobs that people are going to be hiring for in the next 5 years. So anybody who can hear my voice, if you're not happy with what you're doing, if you don't like where you live or how you live, these are things that you can start learning. You're going to have to get trained. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to learn this. But this is the up and coming new jobs. Let me read them to you. AI and machine learning specialists, sustainability specialists, business intelligence analysis, information security analysis, fintech engineers. Now, when I said fintech engineers, when I first read it, what the hell is a fintech engineer? Well, Dr. Paul knew what a fintech engineer is. Go ahead and tell him what a fintech engineer is, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, okay. It has nothing to do with sharks. Somebody that's what I thought that initially, big fin. Someone in financial technology.
That's why you're a doctor.
That's just something I knew. Don't give me too much credit there.
Number 6, data analysis and scientists. 7, robotics engineer. 8, electrotechnology engineers. 9, agricultural equipment operators. And 10, digital transformation specialists. In other words, these are all highly technical jobs that you have to learn and train. But this is what is sustainable in the upcoming years. And especially with this AI, believe it, I went on a flight the other day, Delta, and I'm part of the Delta Club. Well, you have to check in with your flight in order to get into this little fancy club. And guess what? There's no more people there. Now it's just machines. You check in with your phone, you're in or out. And I think they have 2 people where they used to have 10 people. And this is just kind of the way we're losing jobs. When you check into the airport, now they got kiosks because these kind of small jobs are moving away because of AI, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, it's amazing. You go to the airport. I haven't flown in a while, but where there used to be so many people checking in and doing this, now the people are almost like assistants to the machines. The paper tickets and all the stamping that they had to go through is boom, 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 boom. And now they're using facial recognition for a lot of things too. Going through security. That technology has been around for a while, but you're going to see it more and more and more as people move faster and faster and faster. So you've got to keep up with the time and the pace. I find it difficult myself. The few things that I'm doing, I'm just scratching the surface, and it's really easy to get lost and more frustrated, I think, as an older person. That's why you need to have a young person or a 5th grader around somewhere that you can fix something like in 10 seconds. You don't have to get on hold and wait for 5 hours and then get knocked off. But
we were talking about the computers. I forgot to put this in because it is, you and I have talked about this. This is my greatest hint for learning technology. When things don't work, shut down and restart. Yes. Shut down and restart. It's amazing how many things that fixes.
Yeah, some airplanes are like that too.
Yes,
very sophisticated airplanes. If it's hopelessly lost, just disconnect all the power, wait for 5 minutes, power it back up, and it's like a birth of a new baby. It comes out
100%. Well, Dr. Paul, you and I talk about college all the time. And to me, it is the key as a young person to making it out of your house into the world. You get 4 years to really check out the world, have fun, learn something. Well, there is a list out that I don't appreciate the way the headline reads, because it says these are the top 5 jobs without a college degree. You don't need a college degree, and they pay $100,000 and more sometimes. But listen to the top 5 spots where we're talking about that you don't need a college degree. Number 1, consulting. If you don't have a college degree, you have to have experience to consult, because you have to know what you're talking about. Client advisors, business consultant, solution consultants. That's number 1. Number 2, marketing, which I love, but social media manager, marketing specialist, marketing coordinator. Once again, you have to have some experience in these areas in order for you to get these jobs. Number 3, research. Okay, you don't need a college degree, but you need to be a laboratory technician, business analysis, or medical laboratory technician. You're going to need an education. Number 4, human resources, human resource specialist, human resource assistant. Number 5, media and communications. A writer, a production assistant, editor, production manager. Actually, these jobs pay $100,000 and more. The problem is you might not need to go to college, but you're going to have years of experience in any of these areas to be able to qualify for these jobs, right, Doc?
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is I say get out and move, get out and learn and do something that you've been, you like and enjoy. But you do have to have some experience. Even if you have the advanced degrees, that's great, but you may know nothing. A lot of times the degree requirements just get you through the door. And then it may show that you have the ability to learn and can be trained and you're trainable. But you really have to know something.
Believe it or not, it's what the hard work you put in now into something. I always said this: you work now or you work later. You bust your ass now in school or in your job and really get something done, or you sit around and not do anything, but you're going to bust your ass later, and it won't be for the same amount of money. There is a way to be successful in this country and on this planet.
Yeah, and I guess the big message is, don't waste your time or stop wasting time. It's easier to say, harder to do. But we're all kind of wrapped up in entertainment a little bit too much. And if you can take a little time out of your day to read 5 pages of something, 3 pages of something, it's not much. Just day in, day out, day in, day out. Yeah, if you tell them some people to read is like, it's like cursing at them. But you've got to put something. You got to put something in your brain. Or if it's YouTube videos all day, I have a weakness there. But there's some good stuff on YouTube. I mean, there's some great stuff on YouTube.
Learning.
Yeah, I mean, you can play nonsensical games, or you can probably learn how to do an appendectomy. I'm not telling you to do that, but you can go to whatever level of detail. You can learn so many things. If you want to study thermodynamics or structures, mechanics, there are. Universities, MIT, Stanford, whatever, they've got courses. It's online. It's free. If you want to go through it, you want to learn calculus, if you want to learn something advanced, or maybe underwater basket weaving. If there was a certificate for that, I think I'd go for that, just to have it on my record.
Too. You've talked about it all the time.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, underwater basket weaving, hold my breath, do a little piece at a time, come back up.
To tell you the truth, what I think success comes from is when you love doing something, because then it's not so like work. If you love playing basketball, then shooting 400 jump shots a day is not the hardest thing. If you love science, then going the extra mile and learning in the labs and going to extra classes is not hard, because you enjoy doing what you do. To me, you go to college just so you can learn what's out there. If you don't know what, let's say my son taught me about a herpetologist. Do you know what a herpetologist is, Dr. Paul? I'm sure you do.
Herpetologist is someone with herbs, or?
No, a herpetologist. I think you're just kidding. But Drew taught me this. A herpetologist is the study of reptiles and snakes. And here it is. I bet you a herpetologist at the San Diego Zoo makes $250,000 a year. Well, there are children out there or people out there who just love reptiles and snakes, but yet they don't know that there's an opportunity for you to actually make a living loving something like that. And that's all I'm saying about going to college. Go out there and find out what these different skills are. Then you can make up your mind. And once you get attached to something, it's like when I started to learn how to fly, I love flying. So doing extra work, reading ahead, working harder in an airplane, that was all fun to me. And what happened is Dr. Paul and I just retired not too long ago from a job that we flew 777s all over the world, stayed in Paris for weekends, and just had a great time. But that's because we busted our ass front.
Yeah. Hey, you worked hard and you were, paid fairly well to spend a lot of time staring out the window.
That's right. Work hard, work smart, and don't quit. And that means it's time for a Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. Under fact number 10. Forgiveness, tolerance, and patience are the virtues that set you free. Forgiveness, tolerance, and patience are the virtues that set you free. Those are the three hardest things in the world. But I'll tell you what, Dr. Paul, when you forgive somebody else, you like when you have resentment against people, that's not hurting them, that's hurting you. Right. When you forgive people, you feel better. When you tolerate, you don't have to agree with people, but we need to have a little bit of tolerance, forgiveness, tolerance. And the big one is patience. And I believe should be continuing patience until you get some.
Yeah. And realizing that, as much as we think about it, you are not necessarily the center of the universe, and the world doesn't revolve around you. And you might think, well, I wish it did. But if we just sometimes we just take a break and just take a breath and realize sometimes there's some benefits to just being alive. I remember when I came back off my second cruise, I remember being in a town, small town, and they had this machine. The bank, you could go to the bank and go to this machine and get cash out of it. It was when cash machines were introduced. And this was when I was out at sea, apparently. And I came back, you could do this. And it was one Saturday afternoon in a small town, population of 26,000. They had one of these machines. I put a card in, and a few seconds later, it gave me back like $30. So wow, this is something. Now I go to a cash machine and I put the card in, and I'm thinking, why is this thing taking so long? And it may be 3 seconds. So I go from, seeing a miracle to being impatient now, because you're kind of spoiled and you want it faster, 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 faster. Hurry up for no reason. So that's internal. And you have to learn how to kind of take a break and take a breath. Breathe into a count of 4, hold it to a count of 7, exhale to a count of 8. Do that like about 5 times. You'll calm yourself down. Actually lower your blood pressure.
That's very true, Dr. Paul.
You can think of it. You can do that driving. It won't hurt you. I've done it.
When I use this, when mad, sit down, shut up, and don't do anything for 24 hours. 100%. When you get mad, you lose oxygen in your brain, so you can't think. If you just calm down and whatever you need to say, whatever you need to do, just wait a day. I guarantee you it will be different. I guarantee that.
I'm trying to visualize you being quiet for 24 hours, but I'll take you.
Well, Katrina and I went to a monastery in Burma, and which called Myanmar, and I was in a monastery for a week and did not talk. And the reason I didn't talk is because nobody else was talking. It's not like a rule. It's that everybody's meditating. And if you talk to somebody, you're bothering them. Why would you want to bother somebody else? Now, if you need to go to the bathroom and you don't know where it is, you definitely can ask. But that's not the point. The point is everybody's there to meditate. So it's like a little different spin on it. So yes, Drew Brown was quiet.
Okay. Yeah, and I bet when you got out, you made up for it.
I did. When I came back, I was just spurting it out.
Yeah.
Okay, our frequent flow line. on wingmanshow.com. That's for all our frequent flyers that listen to us every week. Well, you guys can write us a letter, and somebody did, Dr. Paul. It's a 19-year-old kid from New Mexico. And this is a pretty deep question that he's asking us. But since both of us were attack pilots flying A6s and A7s off aircraft carriers, they wanted to know if we ever killed anybody. And I remember when I was speaking to kids, thousands and thousands of kids, two kids asked me two questions. One of them was my wings real gold? And they weren't real gold. And I swear I saved up some money and bought real gold wings. But the other one was a kid asked me, have I ever killed anybody? And the answer is no. And even though we were fired up to do it, even though I was on the catapult with full loaded bombs, ready to go, we crossed the line to Libya. I was in position. I went to Beirut. We were ready to bomb, and I was ready to do what I had to do to protect this country. But thank you, God, I didn't have to do it. And so I can proudly say I haven't hurt anybody. Dr. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, same thing, kind of on the verge a couple of times, but things didn't jump off as they thought they could. But basically, like you said, you're ready, because you have to be ready. You don't have time to get ready. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared. You have to be trained, in shape, ready to go, because it can come at a moment's notice, literally at a moment's notice. And that's the way forces are today. Some are in active combat. Those who aren't are probably, either training, on the verge of it, training, standing by.
Well, Dr. Paul, I'm going to ask you a quick question. All right. Have you ever flown your family in an airplane? Because I always wanted to take my family up, but I never had the chance. But I did do one thing. When I was carrier qualing in San Diego, I was carrier qualing off the USS Constellation, and we flew our T2s into San Diego. And when I landed at the airfield in San Diego at Miramar, believe it or not, I'm taxiing in, and I see a black Cadillac under a C-130 wing with a man out waving his hands and about 15 Air Force soldiers around him, or maybe they were Marines, with their M16s out. My father drove on the tarmac, believe it or not, and this was way back then. I don't think you could make it now. And he was just waving at me. So he actually saw me taxiing a jet. So I opened up my canopy and went back to him. And then he started getting frantic. And I couldn't understand why he was getting so frantic. And later on, I asked him, and he said, boy, you better keep your hands on that wheel. You steer with your feet. But anyway, my dad was at parade rest with Marines around him with M16s. But he said, that's my boy flying that jet. And some kind of way he never got in trouble. So that's the closest I ever came to flying a family member. Did you have an experience like that?
No. I've flown to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey once, and my family was there, and they saw me off. That was nice. That was a big deal. That was kind of probably a surreal experience for them. Because we didn't take passengers, we couldn't do what some of the airline folks did, where they, you take your family members with them, maybe on a flight. Or a friend of mine did that on his very last flight. Took his mother and his a brother and an uncle, which was really great. We couldn't really do that. So the answer is kind of like, no, I didn't fly anybody.
Well, here it is, Dr. Paul. I know you and I both. I was very lucky to have my mother knew I flew jets in the Navy, and my father knew I flew jets in the Navy. And one thing that I'm very proud is that I made both of my parents very proud of the boy that they raised. And I'm very proud to know that. They're not here physically anymore, but spiritually, they're with me all the time. A wingman we talk about is someone who saves somebody else, somebody who's looking after somebody else. Dr. Paul, why don't you tell us about our wingman this week?
Yeah, here's this wingman is another young person, not a teenager, but somebody not far from a teenager. Today, we're talking about a lady named Immunique Williams of Milwaukee. Immunique Williams, a young lady, was a bus driver. She's a bus driver for a school system, really the Milwaukee Academy of Science. And one morning, she was driving her charges to school from their students from K to 12, students to the Milwaukee Academy of Science. And she's driving and she had smelled a strange smell. And it was coming from the heater of the bus. And the fumes and whatever was spewing up made the baby kick in her stomach. And instinctively, she knew something was wrong, so she pulled over. A few seconds later, the fumes got stronger and the radiator or the heater started smoking. So she ordered all the school children, get off the bus, get off the bus. There were 37 of them. All 37 get off the bus. She had them go out the front door. There's a back door too, but she said that would take too long. Told them to get out the bus. He got out the bus from the front door. And moments later, that heater started to catch fire. Eventually, that fire spread throughout the bus, and the bus itself was burning up. A few minutes later, some firefighters came by, put the fire out. And another bus picked the kids up, took them to school, and gave her the day off. But her instincts kicked in, and she basically helped save those 37 children. She didn't take a lot of credit for it. I think that baby is due probably in the next couple of months, from what I've heard. 24 years old. She's just 24 years old. Did a great job. She was a wingman to at least 37 kids. Everybody was unharmed. Just a new bus, but without knowing exactly what it was, she had a bad feeling something bad was going to happen, and she was right.
Well, Dr. Paul, that's what we do this show for, so we can show people that there are wingmen out there. We can show people that people do care for other people. There's not just bad news out there, there's wingman news out there. And Dr. Paul, anything that is beautiful, anything that is important to you, and anything that makes you and all our listeners happy, please may you have it today and forever. Dr. Paul, I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And again, thank all those who listen, like, and share our message. And please remember to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to us and stay in contact. We want to hear from you, and let us know how we're doing and what other good things we could put out that you'd like to hear.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.